What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So we are now a full month into the NHL season. As crazy as that is to say, it feels like it started yesterday, but it has been a month since the Devils and the Sabres kicked things off over in Czechia. So I thought it's time to do now kind of a serious tier list. I think I dropped like a fake kind of joking tier list that had like 10 tiers on Instagram after like the first week. This is more of a serious tier list. We got 6 tiers. This is top tier contenders. I think there's only like 4 or 5 or maybe 6 teams in this one. Then safe playoffs. I'd say they have above an 80% chance to make the playoffs at this point. Should make it 60 to 80%, 65 to 80% chance of making it. Wild card hunt, they're firmly going to be in the mix. I wouldn't be feeling too confident, but they're definitely going to be in the mix. Aggressively, Matt, you probably have like less than a 30% chance to make the playoffs, and your team is just completely bleh. And then straight bad, you're going to be tanking this year most likely and be a bottom 6 team. Let's not waste any time. Up first, the Minnesota Wild. I'm going to go with safe playoffs. I think that they could potentially turn into a contender, maybe, but right now I'm just going to go with safe playoffs. When looking at some of the other teams in the Central Division that we're going to get to, I think they're well ahead of those guys that right now I think they're pretty much not a lock, but they're looking very likely to be a top 3 team in the Central Division. I've been very impressed. It's going to come down to whether Gustafsson can continue to play in this level as well in the playoffs, but I've been very impressed with the Minnesota Wild thus far. Florida Panthers, no shit here. Top contender with some struggles from some other top tier contenders. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that they are the odds on favorite to win the Stanley Cup this season. Yet again, especially after smacking the Dallas Stars in 2 games over in Finland. They're just clicking on all cylinders. Actually, Bobrovsky's not even playing that good, and they're still putting up such impressive numbers. It's been very good for the Florida Panthers. The Montreal Canadiens, you got to go straight bad. It looks like they're getting yet another bottom 5 pick. It would be very funny if they had the 5th overall pick yet again, but they're one of the worst defensive teams in the entire NHL. Montembeault is solid, but he can't even overcome that. And the top 6 is good. Bottom 6 is a little bit blah. They're a bad team. They're bottom 6 in the entire NHL. The LA Kings, very solid start without Drew Doughty. I'm still going to put them in wild card hunt because I think it's really going to come down to a team that we're going to get to relatively soon on that bottom there. For one of those last wild card spots, they're definitely going to be in the mix, but they're not very likely by any stretch. The Calgary Flames, I'm going to go with aggressively meh. I think they might honestly be trending towards straight bad after that 5-0-1 start, but they still have some solid pieces like Mackenzie Weegar, Rasmus Anderson, Nazem Kadri that are going to keep them afloat and probably around a high 70s, low 80s, 81 and a half under is what we need. But I think they're going to be teetering around that. They're not a bottom 6 team, but they're not a legit threat in the Western Conference to be in the wild card. The New Jersey Devils, I'm going to go with should make it. I was very high in this team coming into the season, and I still think, again, 68 to 75% chance of making the playoffs, especially after a good win, even though McDavid was hurt against the Edmonton Oilers. Not everything has clicked quite yet, so I can't quite go safe playoffs, but they're a solid 8-5-2, so I do feel good about the Devils right now. Dallas Stars, still a top-tier contender. They got to get some of their guys, I talked about it in a video yesterday, they got to get some of their top guys really rolling, but this team still just has a bunch of depth, and Jake Ottinger, after a bit of a down year last year, is really balling out, so I think you definitely got to have them in top-tier contenders. They'd probably be arguably the betting favorite to come out of the Western Conference right now. Nashville Predators, wild card hunt. I think them and the LA Kings, although Nashville played horrible last night, not that good of a record, I think they're probably going to be duking it out for that last wild card spot right now, or maybe another team that we're going to get to might be in the mix as well, but I think they might be a little bit ahead. It's going to come down to these teams most likely for the final Pacific spot. Ottawa, wild card hunt. I'm high on Ottawa. I can't say should make it considering there's a bunch of teams that it looks like they're going to be scrapping with that we're going to get to, but definitely in the wild card hunt, I'd put them at like 55% or something like that. The Buffalo Sabres, aggressively meh. What are they? 4-7-1. I don't see Lindy Ruff turning it around. This team is just too inexperienced after such a bad start. They're probably cooked at this point. The New York Islanders, I'm going to still go with wild card. Maybe I'm biased with this, but I think that Sorokin could potentially carry them until their injuries are up, and I still think they are a solid team. They're not going to be finishing this bad the entire season. I wouldn't pick them to make the playoffs right now, but I think they're definitely in the hunt. I think a lot of people are giving up on this team just a little bit too early. The Chicago Blackhawks, they're still pretty bad. They're definitely better than last year. They're not a bottom 2 team, I'd say, this year, most likely. Actually, I don't know, but they're not the worst team in the NHL. They're probably going to be around 70 to 74 points, I'd project at this point, but they're still pretty bad. The Philadelphia Flyers, also pretty goddamn bad outside of Matvei Michkov and Konechny. Nothing really scares me offensively for this team, and the defense core is pretty bad, and the goalie tandem is pretty bad, although Urson has been playing better this most recent week. Actually was my goalie of the week. It's still a bad goalie tandem. They're still a bad team. Columbus, They've been playing solid. They're 5-5-1 right now, even though they don't have Ken Johnson, who's injured, Vornikov, who's injured, Boone Jenner's injured. So I think this team, although on paper, I think they're probably like a bottom four, bottom four in terms of talent. I think Dean Evison's actually coaching these boys up pretty well. And as a result, I have them in aggressively mad. I don't have them on the same level as these guys. But I have Anaheim in straight bad. I had the over of 71.5. This was one of my best bets of the season. I still think they can hit it because that is a very, very low number. But the offense has been very concerning. They're below 500 right now with Dostal playing like a Vezina favorite right now. They got to get the offense rolling, and I think they will eventually, but they're kind of still a bad team. They're probably the 4th to 6th worst team in the NHL. I had them as like the 7th worst team. I didn't say that they were going to be battling for a wild card spot, but I've been a little bit underwhelmed by everybody basically outside of Lucas Dostal to start the season. They got to get it going. Detroit, no shock here. Aggressively meh. I'd say they have like a 20% chance of making the playoffs right now. That defense score still stinks. Goalie tandem has been surprising. Not sure how sustainable that is, though. Boston Bruins, I'm also going to put them in the wild card hunt. I had this team making the Stanley Cup final before the season, and I still think they're very dangerous if they make the playoffs, considering their size and overall just physicality. I think that will translate very good to the playoffs, but some of their guys are just not showing up in the regular season, especially their middle six. It has not been good. I still think Swayman, I still think their star players will show up and get them into the playoffs, but it's definitely not a should make it at this point. The New York Rangers, sadly, they are top-tier contenders. Eastern Conference Finals last year, Shesterkin's balling out like he didn't last year in the regular season, as well as guys like Lafreniere taking massive steps, their third line being great. There's some defensive concerns, but I think the offense is just so electric that they are top-tier contenders. Carolina, I'm also going to go with top contenders. This team didn't miss a single beat, even though they lost a lot of guys in free agency. I know that they haven't went on that deep playoff run, but they've made multiple Eastern Conference Finals. New York hasn't made a Stanley Cup final. Are they not an actual contender? I still have Carolina as a top-tier contender in the NHL. Pittsburgh, aggressively meh. They kind of just probably going to be like an 85-point team, and Sidney Crosby's just going to get over a point per game, and nothing's really going to happen. They're just going to run it back yet again. They're just completely uninspired right now. I don't see them really doing anything. San Jose is still straight bad. They actually went on a little bit of a winning streak last week, but don't get it twisted. They're probably going to be still like a 65-point team. Seattle, I ordered these bad. Seattle is aggressively meh. We got to fill out these. We still got some more teams coming in there. Seattle's aggressively meh. They're an average team, and after they lost Vince Dunn, he went on LTIR, hopefully going to be back in about a week. That really hurts their depth, hurts their top-end players. And they're okay. I don't know. They're probably just not. They're not going to be LA or Nashville for one of those last wild card spots. Same thing goes for St. Louis, especially after losing Robert Thomas. Not a serious threat to make the playoffs in the Western Conference. Colorado, I'm actually going to go with should make it. Barring that they have solid health. Of course, that's what's going to come down with Colorado. If they're fully healthy, not saying they're going to be a 105, 107-point team at this point, considering the slow start, but they should be around the 100-point team. They should probably be that first wild card. I don't think they're going to be able to catch the Minnesota Wild at this point, but they should make it if they're healthy. Tampa Bay Lightning, you got to put them in the wild card hunt with teams like Boston, like Ottawa, like teams we're going to get to. Can't say that they're quite a lot, considering Vasilevsky hasn't fully looked like himself quite yet. Toronto, I'm going to go with should make it. It has not been a good start. I think I gave them a C+ for their start. I think they're going to figure it out. They have a new coach. They have some defensive ads that are still adjusting to the team. I just can't see the Toronto Maple Leafs not making the playoffs, if that makes sense. I still think they make it. Next up, we got Utah. Aggressively mad. They had a good start, but after that, they've kind of completely petered out. And with those defense score problems, I don't think trading a third-round pick for Olibada is going to change that. And I don't think they're in the situation where they're going to make some massive swing to kind of change that. So they're probably just going to continue to go down and be like an 80 to 85-point team, which still would be a step in the right direction as of right now, as long as their young guys take steps. Edmonton, I'm still going with the top-tier contender. I know, maybe you call me crazy. They haven't looked that good. Last night, they lost to New Jersey Devils, and the defense core outside of that top pair is definitely concerning. Skinner, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins, Arvidsson are not producing to McDavid, Draisaitl a little bit, but McDavid wasn't producing to the level that they're capable of. But this team still went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I still believe that they're a top-tier contender, and they're going to get back on track, especially once McDavid comes back from being healthy. Vancouver Canucks, Safe playoffs. I don't think that's ridiculous as long as Demko can get back. Kevin Lankinen's playing great. I can't quite say top tier contender until I see Elias Pettersson bounce back like we've seen him do in prior the 2023 season, especially. He needs to get back to that level. He needs to get back to at least like 2022 point per game level. But right now, it's a little bit concerning for the Canucks. Still should make the playoffs. Still a pretty deep team, and I think they're probably going to be good. The Vegas Golden Knights also probably safe playoffs at this point. Their star players are absolutely bowling out, and in that Pacific Division, looks like they're going to get one of those spots. Washington, I could see you put them and should make it. I'm still going to put them in wild card. I think that they are likely to make the playoffs most likely right now, but I can't fully go to wild card. Actually, I don't even know if they're fully likely to make it. I don't know. They have a very strong chance. They have a better chance than my New York Islanders, as I said multiple times, but I can't quite go should make it at this point. And then Winnipeg, safe playoffs. Can't quite say they're a contender given that defense score, a top tier contender. They're definitely in that second tier with those 4 teams that they're with, but they're wagon. They're going to safely make the playoffs. Whether or not they can actually contend, I think they need a right-handed defenseman like a Rasmus Anderson, but they're playing fantastic right now, and I can't really knock them. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Let me move my face so you can see the team that's behind. We got Columbus behind them. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? I'll be seeing the next one. Go vote if you're an American and you haven't voted already. Go vote.